should be live. Let me check to confirm. All right, cool. Yeah, mobile live dashboard just came up on the phone, which means that we are live. Cool. Hey everyone, Bearpigman here, doing something a little different than I'm used to doing. What we're doing today is kind of like my first endeavor in the creative side of Twitch. But I figured, because I've been editing videos now for about 2 years. I know I got some friends who are just starting off in editing or want to know how to get into editing. So I figured maybe people will be interested in seeing just the process that goes into recording and editing an LP. And this is a project that's not too hefty, not too hard to do. So I figured this would be a perfect time to do that. So I got here, my editing software of choice opened up. This is Movie Studio 14 Platinum. I don't know why the top is necessarily cut off. Let me see if I can fix that. It may just be fit to screen doesn't show everything. Let me see if I can... No, I don't want to stretch the screen. I want to fit. Okay, just the top of it is a little cut off. Not the end of the world. So, what we're gonna do today is show the process behind editing episode 2 of Oniken, and this is for Trips Away's casual thread. Casual LP thread. And part of the reason I particularly want to do a behind the scenes thing for this is part of the whole reasoning of the thread is getting people who maybe have never done a video before to make one. So I'm going to include this stream as a behind the scenes thing for people who just maybe saying to themselves, how the hell do I get into making a video? So I've yammered and stammered on long enough. Let's get our raw video up. Now for this, because Oniken is not that hard and heavy of a game to play, I recorded it in... did I record it in 3 videos or... Oh, no, that's actually this video right here is a local recording of what we are actually doing right now. I do not want to include that in here or else I will fuck a lot of things up. So let's go ahead and enter those in. And basically what it does is it starts building peaks for your videos. That basically means that when I pull them in, we'll be able to see the audio range. And that will actually help us out a lot, depending. Oh, thanks for the retweets, Slow Beef. So, for this game, because this isn't a very heavy game in terms of, it's a game that emulates NES level playthrough. We don't have to put anything. Let me coaster the phone so it doesn't, that vibration doesn't come in. We don't need anything necessarily all that heavy to record it. Normally, if I'm recording something off the PS4 or capturing something heavy, I'll use Shadowplay for PC or the Elgato to record. For this though, it's a simple enough game. I'm able to just use OBS itself. Same thing I'm using to broadcast right now. I just made my own scene with game capture and the microphone turned off. And yeah, that's all you need. In case you want to see what the raw video itself looks like, they pretty much come out like this level quality, which is fine. We're gonna end up rendering this whole thing in 720p anyway, because that's what I recorded in. So we don't need anything heavy. We don't need anything like it's NES level stuff. This is not a video that's gonna exactly get anything from a super high 1080p render. So yeah, we don't even need to bother with that. So that being said, we can pop this down, and we have our two videos here. One of them is very short, one of them is a lot longer. We got about maybe 40 minutes of raw footage, and our goal for the end of this is to knock that down to maybe about 10-15. So, the first thing I'm going to want to do here is take, this is, I believe, nope, that's a long one. Or is it? Oh, that's because right now, this is, okay, so I'm jumping the gun here a little bit. This right here is our timeline. And when we drop a video in here, well, first thing, it's going to ask us if we want to set it to match its media. And in this case, we are definitely going to want to. You always want to export your media in the same way you took it in. So if you recorded, I recorded this on OBS and captured it at 720p 30 FPS. That means we want to export the final product at 720p 30 FPS. If you try and go up higher, it's going to try and upscale it. It's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good. We're not going to want anything to do with it that way. So whatever comes in, make sure it comes out that way. And this is in fact the shorter video, because we can see here this ends at about the 4-minute 45-second mark. So this is about my 4-minute video where I actually had a lot of mistakes while playing the game. So I just decided to scrap it and make it its own video. There is, however, stuff in this that I do want to use. Primarily the opening. So this here is episode 2 of Oniken. We've already done for episode 1 the introduction and whatnot. So we want to literally start from mission 3. And okay, so remember I was saying before about how the peaks are going to end up helping us out big time. If we take a look down here, we can see where it goes from nothing in the audio to sound in the audio. Also, I'm going to do a little something for myself here early on. I'm going to duplicate the text track while there's currently nothing on it. That's going to help us out. So basically, I'm also going to I'm going to lower the volume in here. We're going to lower it. When we lower our volume, we don't actually want to lower the volume in the game because we want that to come out. We want it to come out at max volume. Instead, I'm going to lower it here in our volume mixer. That way, it's not as loud to you guys hearing it, but we don't want to drop it for the sake of the stream and then forget to put it back up and export a video with low audio. So there, much more palatable to the ears. So we know right around here is where we want to start, but it kind of jumps in real fast there. So instead, what we're going to do is take it to that point where it the sound starts, and I'm going to purposely go back about 3 seconds. And we're going to click this here, which is trim start. It's going to erase everything beforehand. Now what I'm going to do is pull this fade in offset to the point where audio begins. Now what that's going to do is instead of it just like exploding into a cutscene, we're going to get a very small, maybe 0.1 second fade into the game. See, that's a little better. If we want to go even further, we can take that fade in and drag it in just a little more. When I do fade-ins and crossfades, I usually like to play it by ear. See if I like one more than I like another. Feel free to experiment it, but to do that also I should mention I'm doing this on Movie Studio 14. it's similar but possibly different in other versions of Movie Studio, or more than likely, if you're going to be doing any kind of other editing, it'll be in Adobe Premiere. I use Movie Studio 14. It's a one-time purchase. I've been using it for years now. I'm a fan of it. Whatever works for you. There should be similar things, but this is how Movie Studio 14 does. So let's see how that looks now with a little bit longer of a fade in. See, there, you have an even harder time checking out that very beginning. So this whole beginning part here is a cutscene, and I let it play through from beginning to end one time. So get that opening, and from when that music cuts off there, it's got like, I'm gonna choose that my anchor point for footage is going to be the black frame before it starts. So I'm gonna click split. So now I can kind of drag that away, and what I have here Alright, so I actually want to pull that back ever so slightly. So maybe about when I hear the music fade out. So right there, and I'm going to go in, clip that. You can use your mouse wheel to scroll in to get a closer look, basically zoom in terms of timeline. So all of this stuff here takes I'm not going to use. When I recorded this, I ran through a lot of segments to try and make it look either better, or certain times I'll do one part of the stage really well and fuck up the other part, or vice versa, or I wanted to shoot some extra footage. So basically none of this video is going to be used for the main one. There is, however, a very small segment I do want to end up saving for something later on. So this is the actual game footage. So in particular, what I want to show here is that you can swipe and slash an opponent's bullet. Now, if I'm playing the game normally and I'm, using the final take for the LP, I'm not going to want to just stop everything for the sake of stopping everything and just showing you slashing at a bullet a couple times. So what I'm going to do instead is just take everything from getting hit, and I'm going to trim start, which is just going to remove all of that. Okay, nothing important. So this little clip here, this, what is it, like 3-second clip of, hey, Strong Badman, how's it going? I'm doing pretty good, just showing a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff for editing video, as I'm editing Oniken episode 2. But, so I have this little clip here, and all it's really showing is just 2 slashes showing that you can, in fact, shoot out or knock out a bullet that someone's firing at you. Yes, no level in this is mission 3. Basically, for episode 2 of this, or update 2 of this LP, I'm doing missions 3 and 4. So I am saving this for later on in the LP. I'm going to want to show that you can, in fact, slash a bullet. But I'm not... Instead of me, I guess, stopping everything, slashing the bullet, and then continuing on, I'm going to want to save that footage for later. And basically everything else in this video were failed attempts at the beginning because I either got hit with the stupid attack or stuff I didn't want. So instead, we're just going to highlight all this and just delete it. And this little clip right here, we're going to just move this outside of the footage until later on. Now, I know some people would think, like, why wouldn't I take this, my start of the video, and move it to 0, 0? I never do that. It's actually a bad habit, too. What I will do is I will move it to the middle here at about the 40-second mark. And when you make your final video, you don't actually render the entire thing. You set your loop region up here. So I can set my loop region to start here and go as long as I want. And then when I go to actually make a movie and render it, you can pick render loop region only. So technically what it does is it makes this here the start of your video. So even though it's technically 40 seconds into the project, that's what the video is going to look like. So usually what I like to do is I like to take the beginning ends and the back ends and use those to hold B-roll footage and extra stuff. Hey Andy, how's it going? So now that I have my intro taken care of, I am just going to actually now take the meat of the game, meat of the episode itself, and pull it in. See, this one went a lot longer than my 4-minute one. So, now pretty much what we do is we just review footage, and in this 35 minutes, I have a lot of stuff I do not want in the final video. A lot of failed takes, a lot of here, let me lower this a little bit. There we go. So see, like, when I restarted, I just completely blasted through the opening. And basically what I want to do is I want to look at this, and I know a lot of these I don't necessarily want to keep. Some of these I don't care about at all. For this section, this might actually be the one I want to end up keeping. Because I'm not really taking much damage. It's looking good. One small hit is not the end of the world. Again, this is primarily done for casual play rather than expert play. So that one is one we actually do want to keep. We want that to be that take for that part of the stage. So what I do is, it has the transition here, and I want to, right before that first music cue comes in, I want to separate it. So right there, we click split, we move this over here, and now all of a sudden this, we have our intro from before. Nice game. Yeah, Sunday's always for, I got chili on the slow cooker, I got laundry in the hamper. Sunday is for doing productive shit. So if we have this set up, it should be, oh, what? Oh, right, I forgot to cut there. Alright, so let's... So, likewise to how we cut that one right before the first beep, we want to use this waveform down here to show where we want to make our cut. So, right about there. So, let's go trim start, and that's gonna... Trim start isn't gonna remove all of this, it's just gonna look for the last split and trim anything before that. Technically, we could also do split, highlight, and delete it manually, but I like to, if I undo that, I like to do it by hand, just easier. So let's take a look, and with scrolling, you can really go in and see exactly, like, to the millisecond how precise you want to make that cut. So let's go trim start, again, move this over, and like, that would have been a dumb mistake to just have left the intro there again. So no matter what you're editing, no matter what you're working on, look at it again, watch it a million times, watch it a trillion times, watch it a billion times before you're ready to go. I did not, Andy. I'm actually planning that for potentially this upcoming week. The only reason why I didn't is I did slow cooker ribs last time, and I had enough pork to last me for a century. So I'm just making another lean batch of chili, lean batch of turkey chili, and excuse me. Then after that, I'm gonna be trying out that nice looking pork shoulder one. Also, I just realized that the yeah, my face cam border is aesthetic. You could not possibly expect anything different from me from that. What I'm going to do very quickly is let's see. I thought the chat window would be okay because this is gray on gray on gray, but I forgot that chat goes through right through the middle of that white and blue section. So let's change the stream chat color again. Let's change that to a change that to like a good green. Not that kind of green because that's a poop green, but a nice emerald. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right, save settings, and all right, that looks a little better. Yeah, this is actually like the part of the game where things start ramping up, and I've had to redo Mission 4 quite a number of times. So, actually, you know what? I'm actually just gonna move chat. I'm just gonna move chat up here for the moment, where they're not gonna be. It's not gonna be in the way. There we go. That way everyone can see everyone's comments. Cool. So now that we've got that that border removed, that intro removed rather. Now that's what I like to see as a perfect take. Normally we'd have a transition in between these two, but you use a transition when you want to showcase a jump in time. With this, we do not. We actually want to hide the fact that these are two different takes. So instead, we're going to put no transition, no effects, and anyone who's watching this is just going to see it, yeah, like that. So now we have our pretty good take of Mission 3 Part 1. Now, for this is a this next part is a cavern where there's actually many different ways to go through it, but if you stand on ice for too long, you can fall and get put into a treacherous path. So I'm going to actually take that small segment right there, and that's going to be a failed take, because I want to have this in, and eventually I'm going to have a comment over it just saying something like, you're going to want to be careful on standing on that thin ice because you can fall through and get into a sticky situation. So instead, what I'm going to do is use my scrubber, which is what this this tool is here, and I'm going to want to basically go until right around here. Again, try and use sound cues as a good lining up point. Let's split that. Move this just a little bit closer. And now let's take a look at this footage and see how this stacks up in comparison. Not bad, but I know I've done one better as well. Now, if this were something I actually gave a real fuck about. I'd worry about stuff like making sure life counts completely set up. But this is a casual LP, and I am not too concerned. So the reason why I'm scrubbing through so much is because I actually did get a game over here and had to restart the entire segment. That being said, I didn't actually think that my take on the first part on the way back was as good as the first one I did. But I'm thinking that this one might actually be better than what I was using. Let's see if I ended up doing this one again. Okay, I am thinking not... Okay, so basically you kind of get the choice here between... I'm going to have the choice here between two segments. So what I'm going to do is put them side by side and decide which one I think I like better. So let's go ahead and split this. And we'll just take a look. Alright, not too bad. Look, a couple of shots here and there, but... yeah, this one's gonna end up taking longer. I know that. So instead, what I'm gonna do is, because I know I want to use the next take of this fight, I'm gonna work on my cutting off point for Mission 3, Part 3. So we want to, on that darkness there, we're gonna want to cut. We can delete that because we're not gonna need that part of the footage. And let's take a look with what we had here again. Alright, a little less damage. Alright, I think that one was actually the more exciting take of that one. So what I'm going to do is go back, and on the same marker before of that black screen in between transition, we're going to split. We're going to move this one a little off here. We're going to take this and... actually, I'm going to make things a little easier on myself because I'm going to use my cutting off point of mission complete. Alright. So we have that right there. And actually I'm going to also incorporate the cutscene. And so I'm going to make my cut at the very start of episode 4. You can see how much planning goes into just how this looks. So let's cut there. Let's start dragging this over here. And I'm going to drag this here. So now that I know that this is the take we're going to end up wanting to use for this segment, let's go ahead and add it to the actual timeline. That might be close enough to have a transition. So this one we're actually going to want to have a transition. But I'm actually going to make it a little longer there. I know I made my cut just a little too early. I'm going to want to keep it so that there's about 5 seconds of text from when they fall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to cut it there and mark in my mind where the scrubber is right now. And I'm going to drag this out to here. And what that does is the segment of footage that I cut earlier, that's now brought back in. It's really handy if you want to make... if you're making a montage and something doesn't fit in all the way, you can use these to kind of make it look about as good as you can make it. So now I'm already thinking a commentary in my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, putting a note up for 5 seconds on screen saying, be careful when walking on thin platforms because you can fall through and wind up in a very bad situation. So now that I have that there, we can take this footage, and I'm going to want to start right at here running across. So maybe scroll back about 2 at the very start of momentum. Sometimes you can also misclick and fuck things up like that. It's Control Z, all it takes to get back. So we're gonna go ahead and cut the start of that there. We're gonna move this in, and we're gonna drop in our first transition. Now, when it comes to transitioning, I like to keep whatever you end up using for it, you want to keep it consistent. For this game in particular, I like the slash, because this game has such a slash aesthetic to begin with, I like the corner tooth star wipe. You can also do stuff like crossfade, zoom in, crossfades, cross pixelation, dissolve. There are so many types of transitions, especially with what I have here, but I want to have something that has a real cut feel to it. So we're not going to go for any of these guys. We're instead going to want to go for a good star wipe, corner tooth. So we basically drop it on there, and we can take a look at our video preview here, and we can see what that is going to end up looking like. See, we kind of want that feel like the game just cut straight through it. So what we can end up doing, if we want to make this a little more precise and a little more detailed, is usually what I like to do in this case is get it on screen in mid here, and then we can actually start doing stuff like adjusting the border color. For example, I kind of want more of a silvery, instead of that red one that they had there, I want kind of a more silver cut. You can also do things like change the number of arms of the cut, change the ratio. So I kind of want to make it a very pierce cut. You can also change whatever angle you want it at, how feathery you want it. Like in our case, we want as little feather and not a whole lot of border. We want it to make it look like a blade cutting through. So now that we've kind of cut through that a little bit, also I'm gonna do a smart thing for myself. I'm gonna go into transition properties, and with our setting here, we're gonna call this Oniken cut and save it. So now if we want to make this transition something else, we can have it there are so many different ways that you can have it be corner sun raised, you can have it corner tooth, you could have it gear. But for us, we want to use a cut like this similar in the future. So we're gonna have that now preset Oniken cut for any transitions we make in the future. So we take a look, and yeah, that's cool. That's the way I want that. So basically, now any other time that we do a transition in this and we want to make it look like a deliberate cut from one ounce of time to another, we have what we're looking for. So we have all that segment. So coming up now is, let's edit my favorite fight probably in the entire game, which is also let me do something a little smart here. I'm gonna go ahead and move. I just realized like how badly I am blocking all of. Actually, let me see if I can just adjust the preview pane to a little more in the center. Okay, there you go. Little better. Now you'll be able to see everything. So this is my favorite fight in the entire game, which is you are fighting a polar bear, and you have to throw grenades at him as he's running behind you. Now, something that I do want to convey in this fight is that you have a boss fight coming up that you really want to have grenades for. And as long as you're doing this fight, they're going to continue to throw grenades at you. So if you're smart and you really want to have an easier time in an upcoming fight, you want to get as many grenades as you can get. So kind of what I do here is stop really fighting it heavy and start focusing on getting about 40 grenades. This fight could have ended by now. So I don't really want to make people sit through me just collecting nearly 40 grenades. So I purposely, when recording this fight, when I record this fight, I purposely left it a little. I made the beginning part of the fight go fine, and just did a lot of my collecting near the end. So what I'm gonna do here is get to about here, where he's about 3 or 4 hits away from death. We're gonna split that there. And then we're gonna go to not long after it loses its fur and becomes a cyborg. As soon as it becomes a cyborg, we're gonna count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna cut, and we're going to split that there. And so we have a couple of ways that we can deal with this. We could either just completely cut it and put in a transition, but I want to show off one of my favorite effects, which is how I do time skip. So what I'm going to do is, on this, if you hit Control and go to, normally clicking on the edge and bringing it in cuts the footage or reduces it in time, but if you hold Control on your keyboard and click on this, you can stretch or condense time. So what we're going to do here is condense this super tight and then bring this in. So what it basically did was took maybe about 30 seconds of footage and turned it into 8. So what it's going to do is, if you're watching it, it's going to speed it up real fast. Now, in addition to being funny and cool, this also kind of gives me a good 10-second break to kind of talk about what we're doing there with putting on the collecting grenades for the upcoming fight. So what we're gonna do, because that's cool and all, but we can do something a little cooler than just having it speed up really fast. Whenever I do a time lapse. Also, I'm gonna do a smart thing here and make sure that I save this. So this is Oniken ep34. Save as often as you fucking can, because you are going to have a problem. You're gonna end up losing something, and boy, you're gonna wish that you saved so much. So what I like to do whenever I'm doing a speed up is a TV simulator. Now, what this does is, if I put this over here, it emulates the feeling of a TV screen. But we can do better than just a simple emulation feel of a TV screen. So let's go ahead and open our media... Oh, wrong one. Let's go ahead and open our video event FX. So what these do is they give us kind of a little bit of control on how much we want to fuck this thing up. So if we want to take detail zoom to higher, you're in a little more than you would be. If we want to increase the interlacing, here, an easy way to show is to just watch the footage, move these things around, and see what this does. So, line sync, if I move this here, we can see that now all of a sudden we can go from a little bit of line sync to very much line sync. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a little bit of a vertical sync as well. What that's going to do... See, now it looks like we're speeding something up. And that's kind of the effect that we're going for. But again, we're still not done here, because we can go a little further and animate it. So what that is right now, this is a good, messed up point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that be a very big keyframe. That's how we're going to start it off. And this segment, I thought I had it. Do I have this? Okay. There's a button here that syncs cursor to media timeline. So what that means is that I can adjust the timeline and it'll sync it up to the video, or vice versa. It's just really handy for if you're going to be messing with your effects on the fly. So what I'm going to do here is make the near this endpoint here its own keyframe. And I'm going to make the very last moment on this a keyframe as well. What keyframes mean is that you can set settings for different times in this 6-second segment. So I'm going to want this and this to be pretty messed up. But I'm going to want this last one here to be reset to none. What does that do, you may be asking? Well, you'll see. Now that we have it set up for max bad and reset to none, when we go ahead and take a look at this, it's gonna go speed up, speed up, speed up, but then about a second before it goes done, it's going to start correcting itself like that. And in my mind, that actually went still a little too fast. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move this keyframe a little higher up. So basically what we want to do is we want to have it get the appeal, at least I want to have the appeal and aesthetic of a thing being sped up, and then as we're getting to where we want to go, it's slowing down. And a card going from 0 to 60 to slowing down to nothing. So if we have that set up like that, it should come out like this. Fast, fast, fast. And now the brake's being applied. And now, did you see that? Now it corrects itself back up to normal. That's fine. That's exactly what I want. So this final segment as well came out pretty good. But one thing I do want to show is for the boss. So the boss of this fight is a complete motherfucker unless you do what I did, which is basically get about 30 somewhat grenades, wait for him to show up, just pelt him with grenades. Now, as cool as that is, it doesn't show off why he's a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is, right before the fight itself actually begins, I'm going to cut here, put a little bit of space in, and now I had that, here, I had this chunk of footage that had game overs and failed attempts. Well, we're going to get something good out of it. We're going to go and get 1 or 2 failed boss fights out of it. And see, this was the first time I fought the bear. But I ended up using all my grenades on it. And so by the time I got out of here, I only had maybe 4 or 5 left for the boss. So I don't want to actually use that take. So what I want to do is get to about here. And actually, I want the cut on this one to be as the boss is rise. Do I want it to be as the boss is rising, or do I want it to be just before? Alright, I do want him to be showing up just a little bit. So let's zoom in and let's extend that out just a little bit. Okay, perfect. So right about there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is now zoom in, and from this I'm only going to really take footage of my first fight with this boss. And I'm going to use that beep, that high beep in that as my cut point. So just a little something for transition time. Cut early. So this is my first attempt fighting this boss, and I end up getting destroyed. What he does is launch that. And he launches rockets that cause you to fall. So I want to take right from that point of death, cut. That's going to be useful. Likewise, second time fighting him. Yeah, so like no matter what, if those rockets come at you, you're probably going to get knocked in the pit. So I want to have that footage of that, as well as this footage here of not the entire fight, but of getting knocked into the pit. So let's go ahead and just get that. I'm basically planning on having that accompanied with the note along the lines of take him out early or you're going to get knocked in the pit a lot. So what we're going to do is highlight these two, drag them over to about here, Oh, actually, we want to do. Let's zoom in, and we want to take these segments, move them just a smidgen closer. Take these two segments, move them here. Connect these two to the actual play. Always check the transition to see how it comes out. Flawless. So now we want to have... So ideally we want to have the music kind of match up as good as possible too, but this is going to be a bit of a transition moment. Well, fuck, I actually might have done it on the exact same beat of the song. Close enough. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to make my transition, because again, we want to showcase to people that it's a different take that we're using, and one thing that we're going to do to make it a little different is we're going to adjust the angle to be a little different. So it's not going to be the exact same cut each way. It's going to be a sword cutting through in different segments. Also, it didn't look like that. In some cases, if your two segments are like just barely touching, they may not exactly transition properly. So what we can do is we can undo that star wipe change, check these and see just how close they are. Try that again. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. It just happens sometimes when you're just messing with the footage. Sometimes they really just lock into each other well, sometimes not as much. So what we're going to do is purposely move them in a little closer. It's a little too short. Yeah, that transition was next to nothing. So instead what we're going to do now is undo move. Undo that transition. So we're going to want to we're going to want to increase this length by about 0.4 seconds, and we're going to want to increase this length by about 0.4 seconds. And we're going to want to have these two meet in about 0.4 seconds in. So it's going to effectively do... Alright, still a little too not noticeable. So let's go ahead and make this up by 0.6. Make this up by 0.6. And move these two in 0.10. You can tell how far it is by just looking at the time right underneath star wipe in the middle. It'll show you there. It's hard to sync up exactly, but if you're good, you can catch it. So we're going to make that even just a little bigger. We're going to have this go out by another 0.4. Have this go up by another 0.4. And now have these two go in at 0.14. Now that should be noticeable. I'm also going to change the angle on that to make it a little nicer. God damn it, I clicked the wrong one. Let's transition properties. Again, if you want to always check your angle live, you can just look in and adjust. We initially had that at like there, or like that. Let's try leaving it at 0 and seeing how that looks. Nice, perfect. It's got a little cut there. So now we have our temp fighting it. It's enough time for a note. And enough time for something like can mess with you a lot. And we also want to add in a very tiny transition in... Oh, God. So sometimes it'll do this, which doing transitions in this software can be a little hard sometimes, because sometimes it'll know to do a transition between two. In some cases, it wants to do two fades, which isn't what I'm looking for. So instead, what we can do is have that fade out, come in here, and have this fade in just a smidgen. Change that transition to star wipe. So it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to still, in some cases, it can just be tough. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to have these two. So what it's going to do is it's going to look like about a second worth of cutting to black and then going through. So let's take a look and see how it looks. Not pronounced enough. It also sometimes helps to keep in mind just how zoomed in you are, because what may look like long when you're in there could end up being nothing. So let's try that again. Okay, so that actually came out pretty cool. It looks like so yeah, what it looks like there is it looks like just a black blade cutting. If I wanted to do stuff even cooler, I'm getting an idea now. I could do similar things with other ones and put an image in between them. What are you talking about? Well, if I right click here and go insert video track and move this under that, let me see what images I have, because I know I've got a couple of Oniken ones sitting around. Okay, so that unfortunately has the part 1 on it, but that means I do have the base there. Now it just needs I need a little bit of searching. Because if I make those two in the same angle in the same time, right now it's showing just black between the two of them. If I put something in there, I can actually extend the time and make it make the cut look a little more purposeful, and you'll see. Some of these things are hard to put into words exactly how I want to do it perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this image into here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it here. Put it right here in between the two ones. So basically, if I were to mute this video track, you would see the image there. But it likes to render the video in whatever's at the top is what's going to end up showing primarily. It's kind of like, think of taking a basket and throwing things into a basket. Whatever's at the top layer of it is what's going to show first. So if we make this the top layer, it's going to show the video, but when it cuts the transition and there's no video in there, i.e. when it goes to black screen, there's going to be that pops up in the middle. So what you're going to instead is have a transition that looks like this. And that's actually pretty cool. I actually think I kind of like that and might want to use that in other places in the video. In fact, I'm going to try and do that probably right here. Let's see. So one unfortunate effect of messing with an individual segment means that you're probably going to end up messing with what came before it, which is why, again, I like to have things at the beginning and end, so it's a little easier to mess around with. So what I'm going to do here is move all of these out just a bit. I'm going to move it actually to the point where these two now touch. And so instead of it having, just that crossfade cut in between, I'm going to get in close. I'm going to have these now fade out to the point where the sound comes in. And I'm going to change this into a star wipe, Oniken cut, star wipe, Oniken cut, and I'm going to throw this image down here, and now what we should get is this. So now we kind of get like a... Now our cuts have more meaning and more of a reset almost to it. So let's go ahead and see if we can also do that for this one. See, sometimes you stumble into some cool stuff in editing by complete accident. So I'm going to go ahead and... pull that there. Pull these two out. Let's see. What can we do here? I'm gonna want to just mentally keep that one in mind. I'm gonna want to pull that out. Pull this in. Cut. And I can use these arrows up top to try and remind me where my other ones were. So cut and cut. Go ahead and drop these two here. And literally these ones are going to be nothing but a fade now. And those fades are going to be... We're going to keep them nice and uniform. So it looks like two sides of the same blade coming in. So now it's going to look like... And let's drop our coup de grace here. And there, we've come up with now a cool little transitioning effect. Let's do the same thing for here. Move this in a little closer. Zoom in. That one I'm going to want to cut. Cut. Drop. Drop. By the way, I hope I am like not going too fast for anyone who may have absolutely no idea what editing is like. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this was to, I guess, I know a lot of people who want to get into editing and kind of, part of me couldn't tell if I wanted to do like a editing for dummies or just show what I do and hope people can get stuff from there. But in any case, now that we know what it's gonna look like, and so now we have a couple of just cuts in here of. So now this is what the final fight against the helicopter is gonna look like, with a 2 failed attempts and a actual one. So let's see how it looks before we decide to commit to anything. I'm keeping the approach in. Failed attempt 1. This way, at least I get to show off his 2 attacks. Actually, I think what I'm going to want to do is maybe make that... Because I forgot I left in the footage as well of the approach. So what I kind of want to do is now make... I want to zoom in here. Pull this star wipe. And I want to make... Make about that. Give enough time for people to come back in without it being too big of a hassle. So you never really want people to go more than 3 seconds without seeing action. So now let's cut there. Nix all that. Pop this in. Oh. Fade that in. By the way, this is why having presets kicks ass, because now I have my exact transition in there, and it takes it like a second to come in. So let's take a look at this now. See, good. Now people within 3 seconds of coming into it, now you know how it's looking. By the way, I'm hoping people find this at least entertaining and interesting, because I had no idea how, like, I've been interested in doing creative streams for a while, and this is about the only creative endeavor I could really show off. So I'm hoping people are getting stuff out of this, now going on an hour in. So that's an hour in, and we have done 1 episode, but now we've gotten our full mission 3 here. That whole hour that we've been working got us about 5 minutes of footage. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Take a look at this now. One of the things I love most about this game is that there is so much story that they clearly don't give a shit about. Remember, our ultimate goal here is to eliminate the 25 minutes of play that went into beating this 5-minute stage. and make it look as clean, as cool, and as crisp as possible. Sometimes you put the most work into stuff that, like, the final result is next to nothing. But if it's a concise, nice 8 to 10 minutes of footage, then that's just cool. Oh, and wait, no, it's just gonna be for 8 minutes just for episode 1. For my mission 3, rather. There's a lot more footage in for part 2, episode 2. So, with these, I want to show off as much of the fight as I can before just, like, obliterating it, so right around here. That way with this, people show the entire the entire fight is still technically there, but... Oh, also, hey. Hey, you! Yeah, now that I have webcam on, she can actually hop up here and be a cat. Oh, you're not putting up any resistance. You're just in the mood for hugs today. And you're done. Still very fast-paced, but ends up coming pretty cool. What I am going to do, however, is on this one here, just because I want to really pronounce that transition, I'm going to come to here. I'm going to split, and all I'm going to do is lower the volume. And by that I mean lowering the gain. That way, it's more of a... We want to really pronounce those transitions as, like, new segment. And by having the sound basically continuing on, I don't think it captured that all that well. Okay. So, cool. Okay, the first half done, and we're going to make sure to save. Story. And, of course, I'm being an idiot because I completely forgot about this second half of the episode to finish recording. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. Now, this episode has multiple parts as well. So remember I mentioned before about wanting to save that piece of footage of being able to shoot down a soldier's bullet from the very beginning of the episode? Well, that's for this part here. Because I want to show that when you slash at their axes, you can also take out a soldier's bullets as well. So there are a lot of failed attempts in this fight here. Thanks for knocking that down. You're a real buddy. You'll get attention later. What you can also do in a way of thinking about doing these is kind of working backwards. So, for example, I know how the final section of this stage is gonna go. So here's the last death in the part of the stage. Okay, so for this one, I'm actually going to edit backwards. So I'm going to... I'm going to want to rewind till just... I want to show a good dodge of an attack that I got on here. So right about there. I'm going to make that cut happen. You're taking one look right at the anime figures. I got my eye on you, baby. Alright, so I got that cut. So we know that's what the end of the stage is going to look like. Because from there, it's a straight shot to the ending. Let's... let's see, do I have footage of... So one up you can get somewhere around here. Okay, let's split. And split. So let's cut the end of that one off. So yeah, in this part of the game, they decide to be dicks and put one final guard up right near the end after a hard boss fight. So that's gonna be a cut. Gonna move that over there. Gonna move this up to here. Extend this out by just a couple of bit and cut that out by a couple of bit. A little bit and cut. Pop these two on. Fade. Alright, so now what we can do, because we actually made that one a little too long, is... actually, I can cut this one off right here from point of death. It's right about there. And for this one, I can cut this one off at about... You want your cut segments, your wipe segments, to be pretty damn close, if not exactly the same. So this should be a lot better looking. Okay, there we go. That's a cool transition right there. See, I think this might be the one I want to use for the train fight segments. Only one way to know for sure. Okay, the second it hits black screen. Alright, let's take a look. Yeah, this segment's fun because it's basically a Mad Max convoy hopping on your supply ship. Including a man with 2 chainsaws for hands. And now in this segment in here where he's just swiping at that guy, that's where I'm gonna put in the segment of you also being able to shoot down a enemy bullets as well. We'll get to that one in just a second. Okay, unfortunately not that one. Could it be this one? Okay, yeah, this is a much better looking play. It took me a while to figure out what his pattern was, and I always thought he was waiting for you to jump and then attacking you. But no, he just, when you realize what his pattern is, a lot of the bosses in this game are actually pretty easy. So, yeah, that one is actually the take I'm going to want to end up using. So let's go ahead and here. Take out this death attempt. Cut, trim out. See how the second half of the level looks, and if it's cool, if it's good, we can use it. So this stage sucks. It's because there are tree branches that if you hold on for them for too long, you'll fall. This game knows its fucking difficulty. So what I am going to want to do is somewhere in this area here, point out that there's a 1-up that I missed. Let's make this tiny segment here. Take this piece of footage that we had all the way back here, bring it into there, and have it line up with the rest. So that should be a let's do exactly what we did before. Let's pull that in just a bit. Cut. How long of a segment is that? Cool. Let's Fade in. See how it looks. Actually, let me get back the rest of the stage. Expand that out. And cut. Alright, so let's add everything together and see how it looks. So from here. Oh, did the fade not happen? Swear to God, some of these fades, like if you change the tiniest fucking thing, they lose their collective shit. So this should be entirely fade. And for some reason, when they touch, no fade. A fade on this end, but not a fade on that end. Okay, yeah, for some reason, like, they were just overlaid on top of each other so perfectly. Now, unfortunately, because of that, I have to go and check other stuff in the timeline and make sure that pulling that a little bit didn't affect anything. Let's take a look. Okay, let's... Next cut, I believe, is over here. Let's make sure this didn't affect anything. Cool. Okay, that's looking good, looking good, looking good. So yeah, now that we have our segment here completely cut, all of this in the middle, which is about 19 minutes, of failed attempts on this stage, we can just get rid of. We have no need for it. We have everything we want right here. So what we want to do now is take everything over to the main one, but we want to make sure that we have everything with us when we go. And now our final thing that we really want to do is we want to check this transition here. Flawless. So what we're gonna do now is take our footage that we had here earlier. I'm also going to, just for the sake of making things a little easier to do, I'm gonna minimize a couple of track heights here. Minimize the music track because we're actually not going to need that. We are going to pop in one more video track though, and for that we're going to put that there. And what I'm going to do for, we have this segment right here, we're going to mute that, and that's just the footage of him being able to cut through a soldier's blade. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the video track to there, and I'm going to move the audio track to here. What that means is that the audio track isn't going to interfere with anything, and I'm going to scroll this all the way into here. And we're going to mute it for the moment, just until I find exactly where I want to drop it. But we have the start of the convoy fight, and we want to show that we can cut through sickles. So right around the second sickle I hit from him, because I want enough for people to know what his pattern is about. So maybe let's see, three sickles in. 1, 2, 3, so right around there. So what I'm going to do is take this piece of footage and scroll it to there, and let's see. Alright, so instead what we're going to do is maybe move this just a touch back. Now, we're going to want this footage to be on the same layer of it, because right now, unfortunately, if we have it like this, it just puts it over. We don't really want that. In fact, all we really care about is this segment here. So what we're gonna do is we are going to track motion as well as pan and scan. So what you're not now, Tessie. What we can do, what that means by pan track motion is we're gonna move this to the very first frame that it's in. That's gonna be our keyframe. So what we're gonna do is we're going to scan how big we actually want this to be in our as well as where we want it to be in the frame. So we want it to be around here, and we're only going to really want that cross section. So we want it to be up in the left corner or up in the right corner, but not taking up too much space. So right now, basically, that footage is going to play there. But still, we have way more than we actually want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this icon here. That's the event pan and scan. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this to determine exactly how much we want from this. And again, works by keyframes as well. So we want to make sure we're at the start of this. We are also going to, and this is a little, we do not care about maintaining aspect ratio, and we do not care about stretching to fill frames. So what we're going to do now is we now have kind of free reign to section off whatever we want of this. Actually, hold on a second. And okay, we want to maintain that aspect ratio. We don't want to have it fill the frame, but we get, here we go. We no longer have our aspect ratio locked. So that means that I get to set what I want shown. So you kind of see how now that box that's moving is just whatever side of the match, whatever side of the game I want to show. So now that we have that, well, we don't have to stretch to fill frame. That's because we want it to be about that big. So right now, what we have is popper 2 in. A thing showing that, yes, in fact, we can cut through soldiers' bullets as well. So let's go ahead and, again, start from the top, take a look. See how natural it looks, and if that's the case, then we have everything but the commentary taken care of. Perfect. So now that we have this all taken care of, the only thing we really have left to do is work on our commentary. So what we're going to do is minimize these two tracks because they're going to be next to nothing. And now we want to maximize these two because these two are going to be, because this is a subtitled LP, we're going to take care of, again, before I forget, let's save. Definitely save. Make sure that we save. We are going to want two things for commentary for this. We're going to use titles and text, and we are also going to use a small background for it, just because I got some complaints about some of the text being hard to read. So we have the time. We are going to do a very basic background that we're going to incorporate in with our text. So what I am actually going to do is open the last Oniken one that we did, and I'm going to make a copy of my text block from that because I ended up having a really good text length, as well as let's see, edit generated media. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this as a different take. This is going to be Oniken text right. And we're going to save that. We're going to pop back to our other one. And we're going to start by generating some text. And we're going to do that by popping in a slide right for here. I'm actually going to make that up here rather on this first frame. Go to edit generated media. And for our preset, we're going to have Oniken text right. It's going to give me the color text, size, and font, which is what we want. So I'm going to start off by giving a welcome back. So this is going for maybe about, let's see how long text actually goes for. So we don't actually want it to go for that long. We really only need it to go for maybe about long enough to read out loud. So in this case, welcome back to Oniken. The boxing gloves are coming off. So about there. So what I'm going to do is we're actually just going to trim off there. And I'm going to slightly change the wording here. We're actually going to split it up into 2 segments. So, welcome back to Oniken. Now what I can do is just do a simple copy and paste. And what it does is it creates a new copy of the source media, which I can then go and change to... Yeah, I know. I love you too. Listen, I love you too, but work is happening. Yeah, I know. Life is hard. Life is hard for you. So we're gonna move these 2 side by side and see how it looks. So, let me check and make sure that it actually says missions free. Okay, it does. So with this one, we see text is going to be actually coming out on the bottom. So we want to, with this, change where our text position actually is. So what we're going to do is take this, and we're going to move this up here. And we saw them say something along the lines of, someone took out an entire ship, including guys. So my commentary is going to be along the lines of, yeah, because that's never happened before in any game. ... But before we get into any more of that, we are also going to be, with everything that we do, we're also going to be putting something on to kind of deal with, in some cases, orange doesn't stick out as much as it should. So what we're gonna do is actually take this solid color gray, and we're gonna pop it down right there. And that's all it is. It's just gonna be a gray. It's just gonna be a gray tone. We're going to snip the edges off. This cat fucking forgets that she just ate dinner. I swear to God. And what I'm gonna do is a fade in and out right here. before going in, and we're going to mess with the event fade or event. Oh, what the fuck are you actually in? There shouldn't be a garbage bag there. Hold on. You've eaten. Do you forget that you eat? Here, have a treat. You definitely had dinner. I fed you. There, everyone's happy. Okay, so we know what about the range that we want this to be in. This box is gonna be, so we're gonna make sure that our aspect ratio is not maintained, that we are not stretched to fill frame, and that we do not have aspect ratio locked. I love you too, but come on, let Daddy finish working. Yep. There you go. You found the floor. So what we're gonna do is trim that down significantly. Scroll this down. And we know how high the text is going to go, but we want it to be about that. Maybe a little tighter. Basically, what we want to do is we want to have this be, and even then we want to have that be only semi-opaque. That way, all this box really does is also I kind of fucked up, and yeah. So you have to make sure that you have keyframes just at the start of at all times. What now? No, I don't want that keyframe. I'm gonna kill you, Tessie. Heh, yeah. Alright, so, when it goes in, it's basically, as text comes in, that box is going to be semi-transparent, and it's, I can actually even tone that up a little bit, but we want it to back up any text that we have in this, while at the same time not obstructing anything. Because sometimes if you make, there is no perfect color that isn't at some point going to be just there's no perfect color text that's going to be non-obtrusive, and rather than changing text every time, what I like to do is put a little barrier behind it, a little box behind it, to make it just make it easier to see while not being too obstructive. So this, and likewise with that, I'm actually going to start fading out the text to do the exact same thing. We're setting these ones up here so that basically what we're going to do is start just making copies of that text, and it's just going to match it like perfectly. So now that we have this, and this is going to be like about as high as our text wall is going to get, we can figure out exactly how high we want it. So I'm actually going to change that, and we're going to want to move over just a little bit. There we go. So this is going to really represent how we want the rest of the text boxes to come in. So let's make a copy of that. And the main difference for this box is that this box is going to come in high while other ones have gone low. Also going to want to fade these two in. Get the pan for that. And pull that. Okay, and with that, it's pretty much starting the commentary cycle off. What I'm going to do is make a copy of these two. And anytime I want to put in commentary for the rest of this, let's see, actually we want this one to go high. Again, so let's take the high ones, copy, and see how that looks. Okay, so if we have one where the text box goes a little long, I can go in here and just expand that a little bit. Actually, no, I want to take a copy of these two. So what we are up to here, Axical, is we are I've pretty much been doing creative streaming for people who have not done any video editing and are interested in what the process of video editing is like. I just took a about 50-minute long recording that I did for Oniken that I've been doing for the casual LP thread. And I have just been streaming how we took that raw footage and are coming up with an episode, basically for people who are interested in video editing or interested in seeing what the process behind video editing is like. So that's pretty much what we are doing here. So see, for this is why we kind of have this, just because I want to keep my text color consistent, but for a stage like this, white and blue don't necessarily... It should pop out, but only in certain parts of the blue. The white doesn't work. So what we're going to do for here is actually scroll in, and we're going to increase the opacity of... Here we go. Increase the opacity of there. So... Normally we don't want to have this be super opaque, but the way it is now, it's going to take that text that, without that gray box, it would be nearly impossible to read. And with that, it actually makes it possible to read it. We're going to make it full, completely lack of opaque. And we're going to just pepper commentary with wherever we want to go. And because... Ooh, I don't want to click that. Oh, excuse me. That's one of my kitchen timers going off. Okay, sorry about that. That was my timer telling me to add the beans to the chili in my crock pot, so that in an hour it'll all be good. Let's go ahead and continue with where we want to put the commentary. So next thing I'm going to want to put in is how this level is a pain in the ass, because half the things, much like it's a Ninja Gaiden counterpart, half the things in this area don't hurt you that much. They just want to knock you into a pit. Let's see if I can put it on 2 lines. See how that looks. Keyframes, what, here, let me hop all the way here. When it comes to me and keyframes, this is what I like to do. I'll just put a simple thing here. So, let's say I want to have this image be what I'm moving across, and I want it to follow a specific pattern. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is zoom out and scale it down to size. But let's say I want to have this thing go in particular shape. I want to have it basically draw a star, and over the span of 10 seconds. So from 1625, 1635. So let's go ahead and crop out any of that. Then what I can do is there's a thing here called sync cursor, and what that does is that makes it so that your whatever time you have is reflected on here. So if I want to have it be at a certain place 1 second in, I can have it there. So let's set it to the bottom square for 1 second in. Now I want to get to the 2 second mark and have it be up in this corner, and then I want to get to the 3 second mark and have it be in that corner, and then I want to get to the 4 second mark and have it be in that corner, 5 second mark, have it be in that corner, 6 second mark, have it be back dead in the center. Well, by doing that, it's been also moving the clock alongside it. So it makes it easy for me to be able to have it do something like that. Just by having the cursor synced up. Or likewise, say you want to have it move in a very, very particular way. Well, let's delete all of those keyframes that we did. And let's say we want to have it... Let's say we want to have this thing rocket out like a torpedo. Coming from far away and then spiraling closer as it gets to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to, on the very first keyframe, have it pull super far away. Super far away, as tiny as it can go. Then what we can do is, if you again have it sync to cursor, you can increase and frame by frame have it do a movement. So I'm going to have it go 2 frames, have it go there, 2 frames, have it go there, 1 frame, have it go there, 1 frame, have it go there, 1 more frame, have it go directly in the center. And now what I'm going to do is every 2 frames, I'm going to increase it by size a little bit. Increase. 2 frames. Increase. 2 frames. Increase. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it increase, move, increase, move, increase, and just like frame by frame by frame have it move and tilt, frame, size, frame, tilt, frame, tilt, and increase, frame, increase, center, tilt. Now what that's going to mean is that the very first couple seconds are going to be hectic as all hell, but it'll do that. It'll do what you want it to do. Otherwise, what you could do is see if I can mass delete all of these. All right, so we're gonna get to here in the center, and what we're going to do is we're gonna correct it. We're going to pull it back, and now what we're gonna want to do is set that keyframe to be that, and we want in the span of a second, we want it to increase in size as well as rotate all of that. In the span of another consecutive amount of time, we're going to have it increase in size again, and this time be completely upside down. And now we're going to go another second, move slightly down, increase in size, rotate there, and then by 5 seconds we want it to rotate back to center and now take up the entire screen. We could have done this frame by frame by frame like we did before, but if we set up just those 5 anchored keyframes, watch what it does once it finishes its jump. See, it only took 5 key points, and it managed to rotate. It managed to do exactly what I wanted, which was increase in size and rotate. So really, that sync time to whatever, and then just slowly make sure every time a major movement happens, that it's on the frame that you want. I'm hoping that that's making sense, and that I'm not just like, it's not just like completely watching over. Damn headphone jack, hold on. But yeah, through those actions, we can either have it just dance all over the place, or do a Mode 7 style spin in. I don't know. I hope that helps. And also, that is, keep in mind, for Movie Studio 14, which is what I use. It's probably very different for Premiere, though I don't know exactly how different it can be, because they're still pretty damn similar. It did take me a while to learn keyframes, though, so don't worry about it. Also, they are time-consuming as all hell. Okay, so you use Vegas Pro, so what I'm throwing down is probably going to be easy to pick up and apply. I'd use Pro, I don't want anything with the monthly charge or a really big one. Movie Studio 14 is like an $80 charge, and one-time use, and I'm done with it, and I'm able to put out good shit with it. So that's really what I care more about. So let me get back to this. Let's see. Slide that. I'm doing pretty good. How are you? How are you, Punko? Oh, you picked a good stream to chill out on. Pretty much. Well, I say a good stream to chill out on as I'm editing a boss fight with a cybernetic polar bear. But right now I'm just finishing editing up and doing commentary on a good subtitled LP. Figured a couple people might want to see some of the behind the scenes of it, and that's pretty much what we're doing now. Just going through this uh, edited video for Oniken, which is a great side scroller made in the vein of games like Ninja Gaiden and Shatterhand, and because it's a game that is hard as only chill with cybernetic polar bears. Cool. Because this game is hard as all hell, I just decided to just edit the hell out of it. So this is pretty much what we're going through now. Alright, so right about there, we want... By the way, when you increase, as you add all these, they're all gonna be new things in your project media. So your project media folder is gonna be huge by the end of this. Don't worry about that. For this one, I might actually lower the opacity just a bit, just because that blue is not quite as harsh. The pink, rather, is not quite as harsh as that blue was, so it should be slightly more visible. This is Sony Movie Studio 14. It's not quite on the expense level as something like Adobe Premiere, but this is a like $70 program, one-time purchase, and if you know what you're doing, you can make stuff as good as Premiere. In my opinion. Let's lower the opacity just a smidgen. We're putting that gray box around it, by the way, just so that it makes the yellow subtitle text pop out a little more than it would be otherwise. Well, Premiere. You're getting what you're paying for. Premiere is a fantastic program. I just don't like anything with a monthly charge. I like a one-time purchase, and I went through a lot of really bad video editors before I made it here. So I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we pretty much speed up a lot of the fight here. Let me drop some comments in there. Yeah, no, Movie Studio 14 is it's a great program. Oh, might be. Let me, Yeah, you are 100% right. Good call. It probably would have taken me a while to catch that. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Alright, so let me hop back in this. Yeah, I should be done editing this in yeah, I do not want to piss off polar bears. They get real fucking mad otherwise. Yeah, and give me like a good 10 minutes to finish this commentary off, and should be good to go. Um, let's well, we're probably gonna I'll probably just end up transferring directly into Heroes of the Storm from here. If we're doing it, might as well stream it, right? So I'm gonna want to move this up here. I'm going to actually stretch my time out here for both of these. I want to get in that there and make this oh, I do want to take care of that keyframe. Alright, there we go. Whoa, 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 what the fuck happened there? Oh, there we go. Here we go. Oh, cool. What kind of comic do you do? Let me... Oh shit, nice. I feel bad I didn't get a chance to pick up anything for Free Comic Day. You know, sometimes it's just I don't know, especially the creative tag. Just watching someone create something, I always feel like, um, I always feel like watching someone else do something, like gives me the motivation to want to get in and finish my own projects. So I definitely see where you're coming from. I wanted the one thing I really wanted to pick up that I didn't get a chance to was the Mouse Guard Free Comic Day stuff. Because I've been listening to a podcast of people playing the pen and paper game, and uh, it sounds like a really cute universe. And yeah, I wouldn't mind getting into that. Yeah, I don't think they get to the end of Free Comic Book Day and are like, well, I should probably throw all of these things in the goddamn garbage. By the way, definitely gonna need to put like epilepsy warnings on this. Oh, I'd pick up Buff Picard in a fucking second. Yeah, this game is like the main character of this game is every anime protagonist shoved into one from the 80s. Oniken is a really goddamn fun game. Like they literally didn't even try and hide that they're like, yeah, we made our main character kind of after Kenshiro. If you like games like Ninja Gaiden, Shatterhand, and other NES really hard games, this is a love letter to them. Yeah, okay, then this game is extremely up your alley. Oh hell no, it's fun having you here. Seem like a cool person, and everyone loves comics. Thanks a lot for stopping by. You have a good night too. So yeah, thanks for coming in and fun with Punko. almost done. Clip, and all I want to do now is fade out the music and save, and there, from beginning to end, a completely edited video. And even though that was only 45 minutes of raw recording and the final product ended up being about 16 minutes, that was still 3 hours worth of time going in. So whenever anyone tells you that, like, they put a lot of time and effort into video editing, that is what they mean. So the last thing to do would be rendering it, but that's a lot of time, and I'm going to take care of that on my own time. But let's go ahead. Let's pop that off. Let me get Heroes of the Storm ready. And hop into... I guess you guys are in Discord, Andy? I'll head probably to the New York Snark Exchange one. Hey, hey. Oh wait, I probably gotta restart Discord. If I know Discord pretty well, and I do. Discord and me go way back. Cool, cool. Let me get... Alright. Not going to start Overwatch. I'm going to start Heroes of the Storm. Because let me really quickly... I'm going to stop recording, stop streaming, then immediately go back on, just so I don't corrupt whatever I've been recording so far. I'll be right back on.